Have you noticed that spending time with others doesn't feel the same as it used to? Maybe you've started stepping back from gatherings or old friendships, and it's left you wondering why. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. So many of us in our 60s, 70s, and beyond find ourselves pulling away from the social circles we once loved. It's not because we've stopped caring or grown bitter. It's something deeper, something that comes from within. In this video, we're exploring 6 heartfelt reasons why you might be craving more space, even if you used to light up in a crowd. These aren't just surface-level ideas. They're rooted in the real experiences and quiet wisdom that come with age. Some might catch you by surprise. Others might feel like they were written just for you. By the end, you'll see that choosing distance isn't something to feel guilty about. It might just be one of the wisest, most healing steps you've ever taken. So, let's dive in together. Let's start with the first reason you might be pulling back from people: the deep, quiet joy of being on your own. At some point in life, you stop chasing the need to always be surrounded by others and start finding something rare and precious peace in your own company. This isn't about loneliness or hiding away. It's about discovering that you are enough, just as you are. There's a special kind of freedom in that, a lightness that comes when you no longer feel the need to explain yourself, impress anyone, or be anything other than who you are in this moment. Think of James, an 82-year-old man who used to be the life of every gathering. His home was always buzzing with friends, his laughter the loudest in the room. But these days, he finds more happiness sitting on his porch, watching the birds flit from tree to tree, than hosting big get-togethers. When someone asks if he ever feels lonely, he chuckles and says, "I've got a lifetime of memories to keep me company for days." What James has found isn't emptiness. It's a rich, quiet peace. It's the kind of stillness that lets him hear his own thoughts, follow his own rhythm, and feel whole in a way he never quite had time for before. For so many years, you might have been caught up in the whirlwind of work, family, and endless commitments, with barely a moment to pause and just be. But now, as life slows down, you've found something sacred in those quiet moments. Solitude isn't something to run from, it's a gift. It's where you recharge, where your heart can breathe, where you meet the truest version of yourself. And the older you get, the more you realize that some of your happiest days don't need anyone else at all. You can sit with your thoughts, savor a sunrise, or lose yourself in a favorite book, and it feels like enough. This isn't stepping back from life, it's stepping into it, with a wisdom that only comes from years of living and loving. So if you're finding joy in your own company, don't let anyone tell you it's withdrawal. It's a celebration of you, a quiet strength that says you've claimed your space in the world, and it's exactly where you're meant to be. Now, let's talk about the second reason you might be stepping back from people: a deep craving for peace over small talk. When you were younger, you might have sat through endless chats about the weather, gossip, or things that didn't really matter, just to keep the conversation going. But as you've grown older, something's shifted. Those kinds of talks don't spark joy anymore. They feel draining. Instead, you've discovered something precious: the quiet beauty of silence. It's not empty or lonely. It's calming, like a warm blanket for your soul. And once you've tasted that kind of peace, it's hard to trade it for chatter that leaves you feeling empty. Take Henry, a 76-year-old man who used to light up every room. As a former salesman, he could strike up a conversation with anyone, always warm and full of charm. But these days, he's more likely to skip big family gatherings or crowded events. It's not that he doesn't love people, he just doesn't see the point in talking for the sake of filling the air. When someone asks why he stays home, he smiles and says, "I'd rather have one real conversation than a dozen that don't mean anything." Henry's not hiding away. He's choosing what feels true. Moments of sincerity, quiet evenings, or time spent with his own thoughts. As we age, we start guarding our energy more carefully. The need to impress or keep up appearances fades away. And what's left is a hunger for what's real. You want conversations that touch your heart, that make you feel seen, not ones that leave you nodding along out of politeness. And if those kinds of talks are hard to find, you might choose a cozy night with a good book or a cup of tea over a room full of voices that make you feel more alone than when you walked in. This isn't about shutting people out. It's about being intentional with your time. You've earned the right to protect your peace, to say no without explaining yourself, to choose what fills you up. That's not pulling away. That's growing stronger. You're not closing off. You're waking up to what truly matters. And let me tell you, that kind of clarity is one of the sweetest gifts of getting older. The third reason you might be pulling back from people is a quiet, aching feeling, the sense that others just don't understand you anymore. As you've grown older, you've probably noticed the world speeding up, changing in ways that feel unfamiliar. The way people talk, the things they value, even the pace of life, it can all feel like it's leaving you behind. And in those moments, you might start to feel invisible, like your thoughts and experiences don't quite fit anymore. It's not that you've done anything wrong, it's just that the people around you don't always take the time to really see you. Think of Ella, a 79-year-old woman who used to love sitting with her younger relatives, sharing stories about her life. She'd talk about raising 5 kids, juggling a full-time job, and still finding time to volunteer stories brimming with love and lessons. But over time, she noticed something. Her family stopped asking questions. When she spoke, they'd smile politely, maybe nod, but their eyes would drift to their phones. It wasn't mean-spirited, just a quiet disconnect that grew wider with time. Eventually, Ella started choosing her own company, not because she stopped caring, but because it felt safer to be where she was truly known, even if that meant being alone. This kind of loneliness isn't about being by yourself. It's about feeling unseen, even in a crowded room. You pour out a piece of your heart, and someone changes the subject. You share a worry, and they brush it off as no big deal. After enough of those moments, you start to wonder if it's easier to keep your thoughts to yourself. Psychologists call this emotional invalidation, when your feelings are quietly dismissed or overlooked. It's not a loud rejection, but a slow piling up of small hurts that make you pull back. And for so many of us as we age, that's a real part of life. But here's the truth. Your voice still matters. Your stories, your wisdom, your heart, they're as valuable as ever. If others don't see that, it doesn't mean you've lost your worth. It might just mean you've outgrown certain spaces, and that's okay. Sometimes, the answer isn't to keep trying to fit in. It's to find people who listen, who get you, or to lean into the comfort of your own company, where you're fully understood. There's no guilt in choosing that peace. It's a beautiful way of honoring who you are. Now, let's talk about the fourth reason you might be pulling back from people: the fear of being a burden. As we get older, a quiet worry can settle into our hearts, not just about health or the years ahead, but about whether we're asking too much of the people we love. It's a heavy feeling, hard to put into words, but it makes you hesitate. You don't want to bother someone with a busy life. You hold back from asking for help, even when you need it, because you don't want to feel like a weight on their shoulders. So, you stay quiet, keep your distance, and sometimes let your world grow a little smaller, not out of stubbornness, but out of care and a deep sense of self-respect. Think of Herbert, an 84-year-old widower who used to spend every weekend with his daughter's family. Those days were full of warmth, laughter with his grandkids, shared meals, and stories. But as his mobility started to fade, he began saying no to their invitations. When they asked why, he said softly, "I don't want them rearranging their lives for me. They've got jobs, kids, their own worries. I'd just be in the way." Herbert's family never made him feel like a nuisance, but that fear of being a burden was stronger than his longing to be close. It's a strange tug of war so many of us feel as we age. The more we cherish our loved ones, the less we want to lean on them. This fear comes from a lifetime of being the strong one, the person who helped, who showed up, who carried the load for others. Now, asking for support can feel unfamiliar, even uncomfortable. It's not about distrust. It's about wanting to be loved freely, not because someone feels obligated. When you start to feel like your needs might add stress to someone's life, it's easier to pull back, to stay home, to keep your worries to yourself. But here's something important to hold on to. The people who love you don't see you as a burden. They see you as a gift. They may not always say it perfectly, but your presence in their lives is something they cherish. Your value isn't tied to how independent you are, it's in who you are, the love you've given, the life you've lived. If this fear is keeping you at a distance, know that it's okay to feel it, but also know that reaching out, even just a little, isn't a weakness. It's a chance to let love flow both ways. You're worth that connection, and you always will be. The fifth reason you might be stepping back from people is something quieter, but no less real, the slow, gentle drift of old friendships. Not every relationship ends with a fight or a goodbye sometimes. They just fade, like a song you used to love but haven't played in years. Life pulls you in different directions, priorities shift, routines change, and one day you look around and realize the people who used to fill your days aren't there anymore. It's not always painful. Sometimes it feels like a soft kind of peace. But other times, it leaves a tender ache, a sense that something precious has slipped away, and you're not quite sure how it happened. Take Victoria, a 73-year-old woman who used to take weekly walks with her best friend from high school. Those strolls were full of laughter, shared secrets, and the comfort of knowing someone understood her completely. But over time, those walks became less frequent weekly, turned to monthly, then yearly, and eventually stopped altogether. There was no argument, no falling out, just a quiet shift. Their lives had taken different paths, new interests, new rhythms. Victoria says, "We still care about each other, but it feels like we've said all we needed to say." That kind of fading is more common than we think, especially as we move through the later years of life. Friendships often bloom in shared seasons, raising kids, working together, living next door. But when those seasons change, the connections tied to them can start to loosen. It's not about losing people. It's about growing into who you are now. As you age, you start to value your time and energy more deeply. You notice which conversations lift you up and which ones feel like work. And instead of forcing those old connections to stay the same, you might choose to let them go. Not out of anger, but out of respect for yourself. It's a kind of clarity that comes with time. You realize that closeness without real connection can feel lonelier than being on your own. So when you create space, it's not about turning away from others. It's about honoring the changes in you. You've grown. Your needs have shifted, and there's something beautiful in embracing that. It's not a loss. It's a step toward living in a way that feels true to who you are today. The sixth reason you might be pulling back from people is one of the most beautiful: the weight of past hurts. As we grow older, we don't just collect memories, we carry scars. Bitutas, too. Some are small, like a forgotten promise or a careless word. But others cut deeper moments when we trusted someone and were let down. Or when we opened our heart only to feel dismissed or betrayed. Over the years, those experiences stack up, and they start to whisper to us. They remind us to be careful, to protect ourselves. It's not about holding grudges. It's about learning who truly deserves a place in our lives. Think of someone like Chloe Hour, an 81-year-old woman whose home used to be the heart of every weekend. Her dinners were full of laughter, music, and friends who felt like family. But over time, things changed. A close friend broke her trust. Another drifted away after her husband passed. It wasn't one big heartbreak, just a slow trickle of disappointments that left her feeling bruised. Now, Chloe cherishes quiet evenings alone over crowded gatherings. She hasn't closed her heart to people. She's just learned to value peace over pretending everything's fine. There's something powerful that happens as we age. We build a kind of quiet strength, shaped by all we've been through. It's like an invisible shield, not to keep everyone out, but to guard our time and energy. You've loved deeply, supported others, and sometimes been hurt without warning. That teaches you to pause, to listen to how people make you feel, not just what they say. Psychologists call this relational fatigue, when keeping up with certain connections starts to feel heavier than it's worth. It's not a flaw. It's a sign you've lived fully, felt deeply, and seen the best and worst of what people can offer. So when you choose a little more distance now, it's not because you're cold or bitter. It's because you've grown wise enough to know your heart is precious, and not everyone needs to hold it. There's no shame in that. It's a quiet, beautiful kind of courage. As we come to the end of this journey, take a moment to think which of these 6 reasons touched you the most. Maybe it was the quiet fading of old friendships, or perhaps the joy of finding peace in your own company spoke straight to your heart. Whatever it was, I hope it reminded you of something powerful. You're not falling apart. You're blossoming in a new way. Choosing to step back from others doesn't mean you're shutting down or turning cold. It means you've walked through decades of life, and those years have taught you something precious: how to protect your peace, honor your own rhythm, and seek what truly matters. There's something sacred in knowing when to say no, in carving out space for yourself, in letting go of the need to be everywhere for everyone. If you found yourself pulling away, don't see it as a loss. See it as a gift. You're aligning your life with what feels right, and that takes courage. You're not alone in this, either. So many others are walking this same path, finding strength in their quiet moments, clarity in their choices, and beauty in the life they're shaping. Thank you for sharing this time with us today. We'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and share one thing you're taking away from this video. Something that stirred your heart or shifted your perspective. Your voice matters, and reading your thoughts inspires us all. If this video spoke to you, please give it a like. Hit that subscribe button and share it with someone who might need to hear this. 2. Your support helps us keep creating content that lifts up and connects people just like you. Thanks for being here, and we can't wait to see you in the next video.